Hello, everyone. Sharon here from the Trainers Training Company, and welcome to today's Trainer Talk Insider with the very lovely Susannah Simmons. Welcome, Susannah.
Hi, Sharon. Thank you so much for having me here.
Pleasure, a pleasure. So, why don't we start off by you telling us a little bit about who you are and what you do and how long you've been in business?
So I'll start with the how long have I been in business? So I originally left corporate back in 2013.
Mm.
So I have had my own business in some guise since then. But that's been kind of, I guess, an evolution over all of those years. So what I do now is I am a business fitness and lifestyle coach. So I help independent service providers, so people like professional services, so
Yeah,
training, consulting, wealth managers, all those sorts of great people, to basically take better care of themselves and take better care of their customers. So it's all around the people in their business and making sure that they have amazing customer experiences and ones that can scale, because we all want to grow our
yeah,
businesses, don't we? Whatever that looks like for us, growth is something that I think we're all thinking about. And so it's how can you do that and still provide that amazing customer experience, customer service that you have been doing, but how can you do it without burning yourself out, and how can you kind of keep juggling everything, because we're all very, very busy, aren't we? Typically the
yeah,
people I work with, they've got families or aging parents, they've got all these things that they're juggling, and so
yeah.
it's quite difficult to get those kind of fitness and well-being routines. So I help with that bit as well.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And also, you've neglected to say as well what your other role is. But, I mean, I always class you as a you're a member of Trainer Talk, and you have been for many years. And I would class you one of my super members in Trainer Talk, because you're also my Trainer Talk local leader for. I was going to say Staffordshire, but it's changed now to
Yeah, so I
Cheshire. I
guess
was going to
it's
say, or Cheshire or Staffordshire.
yeah, it's
You know.
round here we tend to quite often talk about North Staffordshire and South Cheshire. So yeah, it's that area. So yeah, I just moved recently to Nantwich in South Cheshire. So yes, I am a Trainer Talk local leader, very proud to be one. And that's because I'm very passionate about the Trainer Talk community and supporting fellow independent trainers and coaches. So
Yeah, and tell us a bit about your, before we get on to you, tell us a bit about your Trainer Talk local events. So what happens there? Actually, I interviewed Karen yesterday, Karen Curitan. It's one of my other Trainer Talk local leaders for East Midlands, and I've just realised we didn't talk about that. So, so what goes on at Trainer Talk local?
So they are, I think people tend to have this idea that they're networking events, which they're not really. You do get to connect with other um, independent trainers and coaches, and that is part of the benefit. Uh, the big thing for me is sort of kind of being with a small group of people that get it and who kind of go through the same kind of challenges and things, know what it's like to be sort of out on the road or back to back kind of Zoom trainings and so on. So yeah, we spend a morning together, talking about, so getting to know each other, talking about a hot topic. So the local leaders pick their hot topics for their events, and then we also do sort of a cheers, challenges and chances. So people can bring any kind of business challenge that they've got, and we can talk that through and provide each other with help. We can celebrate. So some of those things that might seem like a win for us, other people don't get it. And so it's really nice to be able to have a little round of applause and big each other up. Sometimes there'll be hugs as well, when things are, there's
Yeah,
quite a few industries that are quite challenging at the moment. And so,
yeah,
yeah, it's about sort of being able to give people a hug and say, it's all going to be okay, and give them some ideas of things about how they can take some positive action and continue to kind of keep trusting the process, like we always talk about.
We always talk about in training, so indeed, and has been known to have a few cakes along the way as well.
Yes, cakes, coffee. I hold my hands up. I don't bake anything. I'm not one of the local leaders but I can bake. But yeah, I don't typically. We tend to have fruit and pastries and things at the moment. So.
Sounds good. Sounds really good to me. A lovely way to spend a morning. All right. So, tell us about what you did before you became a freelance trainer and business owner.
So potted history. So I originally started out as an IT trainer. So that's how I kind of trained to be a trainer and got into training. So I used to train on Microsoft Office. And then I ended up in sort of business analysis, and I'd spent quite a bit of time sort of in the tech industry. And so I got into sort of software implementation and customer education. And I ran what was called the Education Services Department for a large technology company. And so I got sort of, I've always, I guess, through that time been very passionate about with technology adoption, it's about the people, it's not about the technology. And I used to get quite frustrated with tech companies that didn't have that in their minds and kind of failed to see that if people weren't adopting those tools, then they're not successful. And this is where the kind of customer success piece comes in, and the sort of customer well-being stuff that I talk about. So yeah, for a while I was known as the software adoption doctor. So I was helping businesses do a better job of that software adoption. And then a couple of years ago, I wrote a book, which is called The Mystery of the Lost Customer. And that took me on this whole thing. And by that time I was fitness coaching as well. So I kind of fell into fitness coaching when I first left corporate. And that whole well-being piece, it all started to come together. And so the book actually has this theme about this idea of customer well-being. And it was kind of from that I've then evolved into like my niche has changed, and very much around helping those independent professional services people of a certain age or over a certain age who, yeah, I know they're not ready for retirement. Retirement is kind of almost a little bit meaningless, but they want to have a healthy body and a healthy business to keep going and to enjoy life and kind of have a nice balance between, running the business, but also being fit and well to kind of do other things and enjoy life. So
yeah, and it's a really, it's a beautiful synergy, when you think about it. And I know, because I've known you for many years, and you did sort of for a while sort of struggle in terms of how to bring the two businesses together, because you had two businesses, didn't you, before?
yeah, so yeah, it was Productive IT, which was the software adoption doctor side of things, and then I had the Feel Good Fitness Coach. And it's only this year that I've actually decided to kind of bring the two things together under just my own name. And yeah, like you say, so I at one stage, and actually I think it was when I started working with you in the Transformers program, and I'd already been a trainer talk member for a while by that point. But when I was started in Transformers with you, it was almost that, well, I've got to do one at the expense of the other. And actually, someone challenged me and went, well, why? And I was like, I didn't have a good answer to that. And I think that was one of the things I kind of brought to the group. And actually I was like, no, I can make space for both. But I guess as the two have dovetailed, and in the last year I've had clients working with me in both areas, it's become more and more kind of, I've got that not a split personality, but I've got like multiple websites, and I've got multiple accounting systems, and it's just got to a point, it's like, we talk about it all the time, don't we? Like easy and joyful. And it's just like, actually, it's getting to the point that having them separate bothers me more. And the universe was telling me, yeah, it's time to now bring them together. And
Yeah,
actually, the more I talk to people about it, the more I'm getting that. Well, yeah, that makes sense. That
yeah.
actually does make sense. It doesn't seem quite so random as it maybe did. But yeah, that's the whole evolution of business, I suppose.
Yeah, yeah, and and the universe is telling you, but also the universe will always find a way.
Oh,
Once
yeah,
you decide what you want, ask and it should be given. Yes,
yeah.
we're strong believers in that, aren't we? So yeah, so that's great. So that's where you are now. But go back to sort of when you first started your business. What was your biggest challenge in the early days when you were kind of setting it up?
So when I left full-time employment, I'd just had my daughter. Um, I think she was about 2.
Oh, she's a teenager now, yeah.
She is a teenager now. Yes, yes, the joys of GCSEs.
Joy,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, and I left. We'd relocated from the south of England to South Cheshire border where we are now. And I became a remote worker, and I realised that actually I didn't really enjoy my job. It was just kind of the people that were keeping me there. So I left, and I had some CIPD qualifications to finish that I'd stupidly thought I'd finish while I was on maternity leave. Shows how much I knew about having a baby. Um,
Oh,
so
we're always over optimistic, aren't
yep,
we?
yep. Um, so so I left without having a clear plan. I kind of had this idea that I wanted to help um, stop businesses kind of making the same mistakes over and over again. So I originally started out with the name of Everdo, based on the quote of, if you only ever do what you've always done, you'll only ever get what you've always got, that kind of thing. But yeah, I didn't have a niche. Sharon, let's just kind of put it out there. I didn't have a niche. I didn't have any form of clarity. And I didn't know anybody in the area either. And I was kind of not doing, like a lot of people, I think they carry on doing what they were doing when they were employed. And so they can use their former connections in that space to get some
Mm,
initial work. I didn't have that because I was sort of shifting to do something different, or that's what I thought I wanted to do. But I had managed to get signed up as an associate trainer for an IT training company, which meant that I did have a bit of money coming in, and that had kind of given me a boost that, oh yeah, actually I can do this freelance thing. But yeah, and I was networking. I was doing, some of these well-known morning network
yeah.
groups. And I got lots of well-meant advice. But I actually made quite a few sort of expensive mistakes because I didn't have that clarity, and I was listening to the shoulds. Oh yeah, well, I know you should be doing this and you should be doing that. And so I was just sort of, I suppose, that whole thing of throwing stuff against the wall and seeing what sticks, but not in a really nice kind of experimental mindset way that I do things now. I just, yeah. So yeah, that was my biggest challenge.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think when you start a business, everybody's got an opinion, haven't they? Everybody's
Yeah.
got, and most of it is well-meaning,
Yeah,
well-meaning,
it really is.
but not particularly informed, I would
Yes.
I would say. And it is hard actually. And also everybody seems to want your money, don't they? When when you first starting out, oh, you started a business, oh, you needed this, you need that, and it's
Yeah.
this going on, and then you're kind of not quite sure what to do, and everybody tells you to go networking, so off you go, and then you quickly realize that you're at the wrong kind of networking events and you're spending all this money, and then you're kind of, and you try a bit of this and a bit of that, and that's kind of generally seems to be how it happens.
Yeah.
And that was one of the reasons that, as you know, why I created the trainers training company all those years ago, because I did exactly that, and I was like, wouldn't it be nice where there was somewhere that you could go, that a resource, a website or anything, or something that would
Yeah.
just be for trainers and could help you and stop making all those very expensive mistakes, not only in terms of money but time as well, and
Yeah.
also your confidence. you know, certainly for me, it takes a bit of a knock because you don't really know what you're doing half the time. You're stumbling in the dark, and it's hard, isn't it?
Yeah, and I always say to people that that year um is the most that I've struggled with my own sort of mental well-being. I found it really, really hard.
Mm.
Um so yeah.
Do you think that's something that we kind of overlook? Um, you know, where because when you know you think about business advice that you get given, particularly in your first year of business, and do you think that's something everybody tells you about, what to do to get clients, and but do you think that perhaps that part of it
Hmm.
is a bit overlooked?
Yeah, no, I do. I think there's the setting of realistic expectations about how hard it is, and I think unfortunately there's all that stuff out in sort of social media and things of, I know how to have a six-figure big business in 6 months.
Please.
Yeah, I know. I knew that was going to be your reaction, and people make it sound so easy, and I have the same frustration with suppliers of sort of online tools and that kind of thing. Going back to my background of, they do a really good marketing job and make you think that their tool is going to be this silver bullet and you're going to be uber productive and it's going to take away all your business problems, and there's nothing to set that expectation of, well, this is what you're going to have to learn to be able to do it right, and how much time and energy that's going to take. And I don't know, I get a little bit frustrated with that. Help people make the right choices for them by giving that
Mm.
information up front. And I think we've lost quite a bit of that in kind of modern marketing, unfortunately. So that's where I come in. It's just like, put the
No.
brakes on, put
Yeah,
the brakes
yeah.
on and have a think about it.
Yeah, I totally agree with you because, I mean, we can all be anything that we want to be. We can all have any type of business that we want to have. If you want something badly enough, you'll find ways to get it. But I think it's important to realize that if you want whatever, if you want a business that brings in whatever a year, that will require something of you. And I
Yeah.
think that's what you're referring to sometimes. It's that bit that isn't kind of quite so much freely discussed. It's about, oh, yeah, you can just get there. And yeah, but I know, but you're going to have to do this and you're going to have to do that. And if you don't want to do it like that, then maybe you should reconsider it.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
it's not glamorous though, is it? That bit's not
no, it's
glamorous and
not. No,
exciting and
no.
positive and uplifting. And it's a bit like the whole thing around passive income. There's no such thing really.
Oh, no.
Oh
So,
yeah, I'm going to build an online course and it's
yeah,
going to make me money while I sleep. Well, yes, it
yeah,
might do
just
that,
sell
but
it.
you've got to put the time and energy in to building the thing in the first place
Yeah.
and then selling it, and then it to keep selling. And so yeah.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. So coming back then to, okay, it sounds like in the first year was quite challenging because you were figuring all these things out. And one of the things that we didn't mention there is, which I think is a big shock to people when they start their businesses, how all the different hats that you have to wear because, when you're in corporate, you kind of something goes wrong with your computer, you just phone the IT help
Yep.
desk and all of that stuff, or you fancy going on a course, you get your company to pay for it, and all of that stuff that you suddenly don't have, and you've got other people in sales and marketing who do all that stuff, and you don't get involved in it if it's not your job and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
Suddenly, when you've got your own business, like, oh, got to do all of those things, so that can be quite challenging. So you've gone through your first year, gone through all your struggles, and you've got to this point now where you've got your business kind of going in the right direction. How do you get your clients?
Mhm.
Have you learned about getting clients?
Uh, so for me, I know a big thing is referral.
Mm,
And so it's a big shift kind of mindset wise for me that's really helped around. I know quite often there's sort of, oh, nobody wants to talk about the M word marketing and the S word, that whole sales and
yeah,
marketing
yeah.
piece. And the reframe that's been really good for me, that I've called it connection and conversation for years.
Mm,
But also that whole thing about thinking, well, actually business comes from referrals, And so how can I help people to understand what I do and how I help people so that they can refer me? So then I don't ever feel like really I'm selling to anyone, because I'm just helping people understand what I do, and I'm learning what they do and how I can help them. And then I know that just feels so much nicer than the
Mm,
whole kind of, right, I've got to have sales funnels and do this something, and it's not that I don't
yeah,
have any of that stuff.
yeah,
But yeah, it's just it's kind of stepping away from some of those things that again are supposed to be these kind of magic bullets, but
mm,
actually there's a lot of time and energy to go can go into things. I stepped away from social media a bit, not last December, the December before, because I was doing 3 social media platforms badly. So then I'd kind of focused on LinkedIn and
mm,
started doing that consistently, because we all know consistency is key. But I then realized that, if that consistent posting on LinkedIn got me clients, I'd get to the point that I wouldn't I wouldn't be able to do the consistent posting because of the amount of the time and energy that was going into it. And yeah, there's kind of I probably could have considered outsourcing it and things, but I just went, do you know what? I'm not really getting any satisfaction from this, any joy from it. And I could see that it wasn't going to be sustainable. So I got to the point middle of last year. And also I've always had a bit of an issue with social media and the role it can play in society today, that I was just like, I'm going to take a step back. So
mm,
I stopped sort of actively posting. Um, and now I am back on sort of social media, but much more from a kind of engagement point of view, kind of
mm,
engaging with other people's stuff and commenting and yeah, sort of sharing. So sharing the Trainer Talk local information and those sorts of things, without me feeling like I've got to sit down and spend hours creating content. It's
yeah,
not to say that I won't create content ever again.
mm,
But I've got sort of other things going on. I know, and I want, making better use of the different sort of communities that I'm in. To actually meet people and talk to people, and
mm,
rather than just putting stuff on social media, and it going out into the ether and not
yeah,
really knowing. So yeah, for me, it's all about sort of building those relationships, and those relationships can kind of be built and maintained online.
mm,
But yeah, maybe just not kind of
mm,
throwing stuff out there. At the moment, that's not part of my strategy.
yeah. Sounds like you've got a really well thought through referrals strategy then. Would you say that that's enabling you?
Working on it, I would say. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
sort of, and I'm also at the same time sort of working on a content strategy in terms of my website and so on. So yeah, but those are the two sort of key things, particularly obviously with me now operating under this single banner. I'm
Mm,
almost I'm not starting again, but I've had to go back to the drawing board a little bit, because I've got to get back out there of, okay, guys, I'm still doing the same things, but actually it's all under, and it's just a bit of repositioning and things. So yeah, very much sort of getting
mm,
out and awareness with people of what I do and how I help people is a
mm.
big part of.
Yeah, I love that, and it's so interesting how people get so kind of obsessed with social media, and they
Mm.
think marketing. When we talk about marketing, they think it's like social media, like that is what marketing is. And you and I both know that if you look at most of the members that we have in the train sort community, if you ask them all, and I have asked them, and I am asking them continually, how do you get your clients? How do you get your business? And not many of them say social media, if any,
Yeah,
the kind of thing. So it's interesting how there's this perception that we've all got to be on there, and that's what marketing is all about. Because, marketing is about one thing really, and that's personal connection, create
yeah,
and building and maintaining personal connection with people. And also what you said there about educating people
yeah,
in terms of what you do, because absolutely then people can remember that, and then they can either actively go and tell other people about what it is that you do, or when they get asked, you're the first person that comes into their mind. So
And that's where that kind of niche and clarity bit that I didn't have right back in the bin. It was really hard for me to explain to other people what I
mm,
did because
mm,
I didn't really know. I know, and I was talking to someone the other day of, just because you've got a niche and so on doesn't mean that you can't do other things, but being known for the thing that you want to be known for is really, really helpful for people, because if you're all things to all people, then no one's ever going to know when to refer you versus somebody else. So,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So that sounds to me like one of the things that you wished you'd have known before you before you started out, that you didn't have to be on social media or every second of the day to get
Yeah.
clients. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, it didn't have to be on social media, didn't have to be going to expensive networking events
yeah,
to meet
exactly.
people.
Yeah,
Um, yeah.
yeah.
So
Okay. All right then. So coming on to Trainer talk about Trainer Talk, because you've been a member for, can't even remember how long, a good few years, no doubt
yeah.
you'll tell me. Um, can you remember what made you decide to join in the first place?
Yeah. So it was actually, I originally joined a LinkedIn challenge that you were doing
Oh
in
yes. Wow.
partnership with someone else.
Was it
And
full? Was it with
yes, I think it
Cox?
was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Gosh.
And I did my usual thing of not keeping up with it. And I'd fallen behind
Yeah.
for whatever reason. Um, and in order for me to finish going through the challenge and getting access, um, I said to you, if I join as the option back then was online membership. I said, if I join as an online member, does that mean I can, stay in the, I think it was a Facebook group at the
Mm.
time. And
Yeah.
you said, yeah, absolutely. I was like, right, okay, sign me up. So I
Mm.
signed up for the online membership. Then I went to my first trainer talk. So I think that was at the start of the year. And then I went to my first trainer talk live, which might have been sort of March, or it might have been the one after that. Yeah, definitely by the September, I was rocking up as a full member, because I went to trainer talk live and I was like, Sharon, that's it, I'm in, I'm all in. So yeah, it was. So I
Yeah.
kind of came in through
Yeah.
one door over here, but
Yeah.
actually, as soon as I'd got a taste of what Trainer Talk was about,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, that was it. I was sold,
Yeah.
and have been ever
And
since.
and what is it all about then? Because I always find it's quite sometimes can be quite difficult to articulate to
Mm.
people who are actually on the outside, and it only becomes clear once you get inside really what it's all about. So what is it all about for you?
Uh, so, so if we go back to that whole point that I made about that tough first year, I know, and I kind of what I'd wish I'd known before I started out was that Trainer Talk existed.
Mm,
Because having that community where you know what it's like when you're out on social media and stuff, you've got to present that kind of business persona and things, particularly when you're doing sort of B2B and stuff. Yeah, that you can be vulnerable to a certain extent, but you're not going to put everything out there. But actually, as we've said, it's hard running your own business. There are highs, but there are also lows, and some of the highs can be really high and some of the lows can be really low. And I think having a community where you can go into a safe space and go, look, guys, I'm having this really tough time, and there's always people there to give you a virtual hug, give you some advice if you want it. People are so generous with their knowledge and sharing their experience. So if you're having a difficult time with a customer, or you're stuck on something to do with like a project you're working or whatever, you go in the group and straight away, and you're going to have people saying, oh, well, I've done this, or have you thought about that? And I know, and I don't know, sometimes I think people sort of think, oh yeah, well I'm not in a difficult place, so I don't need it. It's like, yeah, but next
Yeah,
week you might be. And so
yeah.
for me, that's why it's a non-negotiable. I know
Mm,
I pay annually, I pay up front, that's it. I know I have got 12 months of this team of kind of cheerleaders, supporters, advisors who get what it's like to be in a training business.
mm,
Because there's all the obviously during COVID and everything going online and the bottom falling out of training businesses because nobody can be in a room together and all the uncertainty, and obviously training budgets being one of the first things to go. So again, it's difficult at the moment because people are unsure about money. I know,
mm,
because we all, we're all very different. And
mm.
actually, even though we might have multiple people who on paper do the same kind of training, they don't, because we're all different. We've got our different niches, we've got our different specialisms, but we get it, we get each other, we get sort of what we could be going through and so on. So yeah, that's for me, that, and also I guess there's also all of the resources, the amazing resources that you put out there, the opportunity to attend the business clinics, the spotlight sessions, again, the generosity of members to share their expertise in the clinics and the spotlights and so on. So I know whether you're starting out as a new freelancer, or you're established, there's something for everyone. And I think also the kind of whole thing about business models, I know, and you talk about it in your sort of how to launch a training business in 30 days, don't you? That whole kind of, well, what does your business model look like? And, associate work versus direct work. And actually, kind of that can shift. We're all evolving, and actually, quite a lot of people start out as associates, but then they get to,
Yeah,
actually
yeah,
they want to be more direct, get more direct. So then there's the advice about, well, how do I make that shift? And yeah, it's just so much value.
yeah. Oh, it's great. It's great to hear you say that. And I guess that's why you're still there and have been there for so many years. So,
Yep.
so just going back briefly to, I mean, you talked about, having challenges and things like that in your business. Has there been a specific challenge that you've had in your business that you would say absolutely Trainer Talk and the Trainer Talk members have helped you with that?
Um, I can't think of sort of a specific example, like for example, where I've gone into the group and asked for help. Um, I think um the challenge that I've probably kind of overcome with the help of the group is that whole evolution of the business.
Mm,
Um, and actually that kind of giving myself permission to run my business the way I want to run my business,
mm,
and then actually sort of embracing the fact that I did have two businesses running, and being able to sort of share that and get support, and people not treat me
mm.
like I'm weird or like, why are you doing that? And it's like, what on
Never
earth are you
question if they're
doing?
a silly one.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, so I guess that's the thing for me, is kind of the challenge of staying in my own lane
Mm.
has has been overcome multiple times with the help of the Trainer Talk members.
Yeah, love it. I've got a couple more questions before we finish, and they are very quick ones, so no
Yeah.
time. So the next one was, if you could describe Trainer Talk in 3 words, what would they be?
Uh, Supportive, generous, and inclusive.
Hmm. And what would you say to someone considering joining? So all those lurkers who might be watching this,
Yeah,
there are
do
a lot
it.
of lurkers around, so they're thinking, oh, I don't know, what's all this about? And what do you say?
Do it.
Any reason why?
Uh, so to me, it's almost like it's an insurance policy.
Mm,
So like I said, I pay annually up front because whilst at the moment I'm in a really good place. I know what I want to do, what needs doing. I'm in an execution mode. So actually I don't have a lot of questions or anything to ask, but I still like to go in the group and see what's going on for everyone else. And if I can help anyone else, by sharing my own experiences or, just kind of giving
mm,
a friendly word of encouragement or whether, that helps me
yeah.
feel good as well. And I just like you say, it's really unfortunate that people don't necessarily get it until they're in, because
Mm.
yeah, it is brilliant. So yeah, give it a try. Come join us.
Oh, and you'd get a warm welcome.
Very
That's
definitely. Yeah.
absolutely true. All right, Susanna, this has been brilliant. As usual, I could talk to you all day, but we do have to stop now. How can people find out a bit more about you and connect with you if they want to?
So they can visit my website, which is susannassimmons.uk, or they can find me on LinkedIn.
Mhm.
And yeah, my virtual door, my Zoom room is always open. So if anyone ever
Mm.
wants like a virtual cuppa, I'm happy to chat. I love meeting new people. I love talking about stuff and yeah, getting to know other fellow business owners.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much, Susanna. Thank you for sharing all your thoughts and your time. I look forward to seeing you again soon inside of the membership. And take care and enjoy the rest of the day. Bye.
Thanks, Sharon. You too.
Bye bye.